Has America lost its soul? Culture shock.
Several years ago, I served as supervising psychologist at a so-called Christian Growth Center at La Jolla Presbyterian Church. And what happened, I fear, is that the ministerial staff began referring people for counsel to the psychologist rather than offering counsel to parishioners on the basis of biblical principles. I think this has all come home to roost now. It's all because of the influence of psychology. Set aside the commandments was our advice, and get in touch with the feelings.
This is Culture Shock.
Hi everyone, I'm Counselor Dwight Bain. Welcome to Culture Shock. Our guest today is psychologist William R. Coulson. Back in the 1960s and 70s, he and his colleagues, Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow, changed the church, the schools, and perhaps the entire fabric of our American society. Were they responsible, and has America lost its soul? That's what we're going to find out today with Bill Coulson.
And I'm psychologist Dr. Jeff Gardere, and thanks for joining us once again. Dr. Bill Coulson's advice was to set aside the commandments. Now the Congress is legislating that the 10 Commandments go back into the public schools, and he is supporting that action. Dr. Bill Coulson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jeff.
You are supporting the commandments going back into the schools. So I have to ask you, why did you ask for them to be set aside in the first place?
Well, it was an experiment, Jeff. We wanted to do an experiment in what we called therapy for normal people. I'm a psychotherapist by training, and in the early 1960s, I joined Dr. Carl Rogers, another very famous psychologist at the Wisconsin Psychiatric Institute, where we had a grant from the Mental Health Administration to see what would happen if you gave psychotherapy to normal people, people who didn't know maybe what therapy was, and if they had known, might not have wanted it.
And what was the purpose of that?
Well, we just thought we wanted to see how far you could go with a more psychological society, if you will, a society less dependent on organized religion and more dependent on the inner feelings. So
taking normals and making them even better.
Yeah.
Or taking normal people and screwing them up.
Well, we tried it in Wisconsin, and the people there were so normal that they wouldn't let us do it. So we went to California. So
California, it says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah. Why would you do that? Now, why would you? So we found a group of nuns, Roman Catholic sisters, a teaching order called the Immaculate Heart Sisters, who led us into their schools. And very quickly, it was clear that we probably had a bad idea. Here's what happened in one of the classes. A teacher was in one of our encounter groups over a weekend, and then a follow-up session. And then she started teaching differently, and she wrote to us that her behavior had radically changed. She said, I've been able to confess anxiety to my students, and consequently I feel more comfortable in the class than ever before. I invited the girls to call me by my first name, and after a couple of weeks they are doing so. This allows for a lot of free exchange. It begins to sound a little bit like a therapy group.
Yeah, it sounds almost like a counseling group instead of like a situation where we're supposed to be learning or focusing.
Yeah. Now,